Hello, everyone. Welcome. Getting our screen set up. So, Lisa, we've got everyone on?
Yes, we actually made it for once, which was good.
I see we've got some participants just joining, so we'll just wait for people to click through. Looks like some are joining, and I know some people that are watching the recording of this, but we're just 1 minute. We'll make sure everyone's coming through. We think we've got a few people registered. We'll get going. There we go. It looks like the numbers are increasing. Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Bruce McFarlane. I'm the CEO of BDC Partners. And for those of you who haven't been part of one of our webinars before or haven't been worked with BDC Partners before, we are a retail and franchise advisory firm, and we help franchisors and retailers to grow. As part of our suite of businesses that we operate, BDC Partners works with BDC Property, so we help find sites for franchisors and retailers. BDC Recruitment, we're going to hear from Dave and Lisa today, help find franchisees for franchisors. We have business called BDC Strategy, where we help set up new franchise systems. We also help mentor emerging franchisors, and we run events out of that business. We have another business called BDC Performance, where we help find people in franchise systems, as well as do franchisee engagement surveys and people engagement surveys. And finally, we have BDC Law. We also work really collaboratively with a number of different businesses, which we call the BDC Collective. And so we're across, I guess, all aspects of franchising. And if you've ever been to a website, you'll see there's lots of different businesses across, from HR to fit out to finance to digital to accounting, or lots of different businesses. And we work really closely with some industry leaders across the sector. And primarily, though, we are franchisors, former franchisors, and people that have been on the other side in growing businesses ourselves. So today, how can we create an effective franchise lead generation strategy? And I'll talk a little bit later, but I just recently attended a franchise development conference in the US, and it's one of the number one issues is, as interest rates have gone up, is how people are generating leads to grow their franchise system. So we're going to get lots of information today. Lisa, we'll just click through to the next slide. Today, we've got two amazing speakers. So David Lindsay is a director of BDC Franchise Recruitment. You may have seen Dave as the CEO of Hattch. He recently launched a business called Hattch, which is also involved in franchise recruitment, and he's involved in setting up that business as the founder. Formerly, Dave was a franchisor. He was at a business called Salts of the Earth, an award-winning franchise. We have Lisa as well. So Lisa's marketing and lead generation at BDC Franchise Recruitment. Lisa's worked across a number of B2B and B2C businesses doing lead generation across Australia and the UK. So we've got an Irishman and a Scotsman going to tell us how to do business in Australia. So if you need to translate, go to the next slide, Lisa. We need translate. We're going to talk about how I have to translate for both of you to allow the audience to understand what you're talking about. Any questions? We do want questions. The questions will come to me so I can ask the panel, or they can go straight through. So feel free to ask questions on the way through, or we do have some time available at the end. We are recording this session, as you saw earlier, so we will send a link around for those of you who couldn't make it or get caught up today on the session. And the presentation that Lisa and Dave are going to run through, we will send that around as well. So, but now over to you, Lisa. Let's get into the meat of the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruce. So just want to thank everyone for joining the webinar today. I'm hoping that you can take some learnings from this webinar. There's going to be a lot of information that you might already know or don't know. I think, as Bruce just said, we will be sending it around afterwards, so you don't need to take too many notes. But if you do have questions, please ask them, because I want this to be very interactive. So the contents of this webinar will be focusing firstly on persona and audience development, then turning page visits into leads, paid advertising strategy, and lead nurturing. We'll start off with persona and audience. So whether you're a new franchise or have been growing your business for many years, the most effective strategy you can use is to take some time to understand your persona and who your audience are. We're not talking about your customer's persona. So this is something a little bit different from what you would regularly be targeting in your kind of B2C or perhaps B2B business. We're talking about your ideal franchisee. This could be a customer, but it might also not be a customer. We do know that most franchisees can come from your customers because they already know your brand, but not always. So accurately building your persona and audience allows you to make cost-effective decisions about prospective franchisees. Setting your net too wide could cost you a lot of money and find you accepting franchisees who are not right for your business. This would obviously result in a waste of your sales team's time and potentially waste your time when that franchisee doesn't work out, and then you've got to sell the franchise and it's a huge process. So the main things that we look at would be your franchisee persona. You've got your motivation. What is their motivation to buying a franchise? Goals. What would they like to achieve? Do they want to become a multi-site owner? Are they just wanting to run the one business and maybe retire happily? What concerns, primary needs, or feelings do they have? How would you address these when looking for that persona? And channels. Where do they get their information from? Are they on social media? Perhaps they read a newspaper. Perhaps they're completely disconnected and you've got to try and find them in a different way. And then the target audience. So what gender is the right fit for your brand? Sometimes it's not always both. So you've got to think about, maybe if you're a services brand and you're a mechanic, maybe you're looking for a more kind of male demographic over female. Not necessarily, but more often than not, that might be the case. Age. If they're quite young, are they going to be able to afford a $700,000 franchise? Potentially not. So that's something you've got to think about. Maybe you're looking for someone who's a wee bit older, 45 plus. Interests. Are they sporty? Do they like luxury items? Are they health food orientated? Like what kind of persona, what kind of interest would match up with your brand and the type of person that you would want to own a franchise off your brand? And then the income. What percentage of household income do they fall into in Australia? Are they a homeowner? These types of questions you need to be asking yourself to then build out this persona accurately, to then target appropriately. Because if you're getting lots of leads in the funnel and none of them can actually afford to buy your franchise and your sales team are spending days calling these people, it's a complete waste of everyone's time. And we don't want that.
It's interesting, Lisa, because it's 9 times out of 10 people do go straight to the audience. They don't do the persona work, understanding the motivations of why somebody wants to own a business. Because as you're going to go through in a couple of slides, it then follows suit into the content and the creative that we create for those franchisees to grab their attention in a very busy news feed. There's always one analogy that I like to use when it comes to audiences and demographics, and it's King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne. They're both born 1948. They live in London in a castle, have 2 kids and dogs. Both of them are very different people, and that's where you want to get your target. So if you're just basing it on audience targeting, you can see that you can and don't do the work around the persona, you can be targeting a lot of the wrong people as well. So first of all, we recommend make sure you put the yards into doing the franchisee persona, what's driving that purchasing decision, and then doing the targeting. And most importantly, which we are going to run through, what is the investment of your business? Because you don't want to be targeting people who can't afford it. So over to you, Lisa.
Yeah, so just what David was saying there, this next slide here is a bit more of a template to help you build out what your persona would look like. I've kind of drafted up three different sections here, and they're the different investment levels. The first one is the 50,000 to 100,000. And this is trying to establish what your minimum age would be. So if you're running paid ads or you're just, trying to build out this persona, your minimum age would probably be 25. I wouldn't go any lower. We were speaking to a client the other day whose investment level was 750, and he was like, oh, minimum age is 25. And we were like, no. That's probably not going to work unless you've got some really rich parents or family member that wants to help there. So we've kind of separated out into the different investment levels. So you've got your lower investment level, which would be minimum age 25. We do see a lot of people who come through and say, oh, my mom's going to help fund this, or my family members are going to help me with it. Typically, they might not be a homeowner. Again, if they've got that family funding behind them, then, it makes a lot of sense. their interest is kind of making money, becoming an entrepreneur. They've got a keen investment in the industry. They've maybe worked in the industry before as like maybe fresh out of uni or something.
Just to jump in there, Lisa, just with regards to household income, 40%, obviously that's going to broaden the audience targeting, or the availability that you can target a lot wider, because you're targeting a lesser household income, who ultimately should have cash in around that investment level.
Yeah. And then the next one would be that kind of mid-tier, which is 250,000 to 400,000. We kind of pitched this around minimum age of 30. Homeowner, yes, most likely. Household income, that top 30%. Interest are quite similar, like they want to make money, they maybe want to be an entrepreneur, they want to grow kind of a business. And similarly, I think across all three, the places that we would find them would be Meta, Google, kind of search ad type places. I think the only one that would be a little bit different is the 450 to 750 investment level, which we've said age again is a little bit older. Homeowner, yes. Household income would be top 10%. I have said that we would find them in a similar place, which I'll talk you through the paid ad strategy shortly, but Meta and Google. But there is kind of other ways that we've had to use to find people in these kind of more higher end investment tiers, because they're not necessarily Googling the next business that they want to own, or, you know, being targeted by remarketing ads. We have had to be a little bit more strategic sometimes with that, but it is obviously a really good place to start. So yeah.
And just noting on the investment level as well, that's your overall investment. So typically when it comes to financing, most banks are lending 50% against the cash flow of the business, meaning that the prospective franchisee needs to have the remaining 50% in either cash or equity. So in the instances of the 50 to 100,000, that is going to be, you know, circa 25 to 50,000 available. So it's got to correlate with the household income, and, you know, understand where are people going to have that cash. Is it tied up in house equity? So if you're at the upper scale at 750, meaning you need to have about 375,000, that's naturally going to be an equity play. So they want to be on in the years, an older person that has been in the property market for a while, has had significant growth in that property, but also has a household income of that top 10%, because of the serviceability of the loan as well. So it all plays hand in hand with how you target these people.
Yep. So the next thing I want to kind of touch on, and I've left this in the slides, so when we send them through, feel free to build your own template from this, is the master persona and audience development. So we recently were chatting with one of our clients, and they were speaking about opening a master and trying to find somebody to obviously run this for them. We kind of looked at them and they thought, oh, this will be really easy, we'll just continue doing what we're doing and we'll just put spend into that area. And we were like, okay, we need to reassess this. If you're looking for a master franchise, they're going to be a very different persona to your normal franchisee persona. This type of person is, they're more analytical in the way they think. They need numbers, facts, business stats, industry stats, and you probably won't find them on your normal paid ad platforms like social media or Google. And one strategy that we are going to try with this is calling accountants, M&A lawyers, financial advisors to see if they have anyone on their books that they think would be interested in kind of investing in becoming a master franchise. You know, this person is very busy. They have quite a lot of money. They probably got a portfolio of either businesses or other things, and they can't, you know, they're not going to be Googling what business you invest in next. Like, it's probably not how that works. So
it all comes back to what is the level of investment. So what we've been I suppose prepped with is that they're looking for $3 million to secure the master license. Now that's not, you know, you're looking at a person who's not going to bet the whole family home and portfolio. So they're going to bet a percentage of their portfolio. So you're looking for a net worth individual of 10 million plus. So obviously that's going to be a different acquisition, a different outreach strategy, which will involve a lot of cold calling and, you know, most importantly, getting your collateral ready, making sure that you've got the right opportunity in the pitch deck, you know, the TAM, what is the available market, all of that ready to go, because you're talking to a very different individual. You're talking to somebody who has exceptional business acumen, business experience, and you've got to reach out to the channels and align yourself with the, I suppose, the professional services who can put such a deck on front of a person.
Yeah, exactly. And we just wanted to touch on that because it's obviously something we're dealing with right now, and it's very different from the kind of regular persona that we were talking through. And I just thought I would feature John Sully here because, we have to have a space and everything.
I don't think anybody would want John as their master. So. But I guess the question, Lisa, just when you're talking about masters, is it a domestic master strategy or is it an international master strategy as well? So I think you're talking domestically for this example.
Yeah, the domestically is definitely for this example. If it's internationally, well, then it's obviously outreach to other brokers, I suppose, and accountants and solicitors. So very similar, but on an international scale. And it's obviously warming up that person to understand who the brand is, what the opportunity looks like, but making sure you have all of the homework, because this sort of a persona of a person, they're not time wasters. They want to know the facts and figures straight away. And if you can't be transparent and have that information ready to go, they're gonna smell a bit of BS and maybe fledge. So it's worthwhile putting all of the work in beforehand before you go out to market with it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they've possibly done it before. So
yeah,
they might
correct.
have other brands. And so I know that some franchise systems multi-brand is not a great thing for them. They like people to be 100% invested in their brand. And so whereas someone that's going to spend $3 million is probably got other businesses. So, and correct, they may have rolled out other franchise brands as well.
Yeah, and it's got that flows back, Bruce, a valid point, because it flows back into your legal documentation. Are they owner operators or are they investors? But typically a person that's putting 3 million into a business is more than likely going to be an investor that's putting in a whole management structure in place, and they're gonna have a CEO, etc., to run it all. So it's about building out that persona right, because then you can then create the content and the outreach channels and strategy, and then you've got to have all your information ready to go, because as soon as you get that first phone call, you have to be able to answer the questions that they have for you.
Yep.
Okay. That's us done persona and audience. So now we're going to move on to turning page.
Is there any questions about that from the audience before we jump on?
Oh, I think there is a question in the thing.
Oh, here we go. So we're looking to grow a network via multi-unit franchising, naturally leveraging existing franchisees. What about someone who wants to buy 2 territories? Do you think about that earlier in the process?
Yes.
Personas as I know, that's something that some people have the skills to run one, and like you mentioned, the owner operators, whereas others, that are more of an investor, could potentially have multiples.
Yeah, I suppose it comes down to what is first of all, does your franchise system allow for MSOs? Like, is there enough margin in it that you're going to generate a return? And what does that return look like? Is it double the return for 4 times the effort, or is it double the return for a similar effort? Developing, selling 2 territories at once, I would always advise against it. It would be putting in a KPI that if you successfully operate and get up and run in one location, well, then they've got the first right of refusal for the next location. And it's kind of like it's a motivation for them to hit certain benchmarks and KPIs along that journey. I always do warn against just awarding an MSO for the sake of unit growth. It is a very, very different skill set that people need to have. They need to have exceptional delegation skills, people management skills. If they don't have that, you can actually risk the failure of 2 locations as opposed to gaining 2 locations. So when it comes to MSO strategy, you want to make sure you've got the right tools and profiling in place to understand, does this person have the skill set to do it?
Yeah, but it could be part of your strategy when you're setting up your persona as to what they look like. Yeah,
certainly. Somebody who wants to, An MSO is typically a high achiever who wants to grow. They want to have a legacy, or they want to build something to pass on to family, or build a portfolio to then sell on. What are those motives that come back? And if it is an MSO strategy, well, then you want to put yourself in their shoes and understand, okay, well, I'm going to give this a good crack over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm going to grow 5, 6 locations or whatever. And then what does success look like? So you want to talk about that in your landing page, in your collateral material, all of that, because then that's going to attract the right people who are reading it, because they're saying, hey, that's me. I need to inquire about this business.
Yep. Okay, cool. So the next section is turning page visits into leads. So this is kind of one thing that I see as quite a low quality a quality thing that happens across the franchise industry. I have seen
everywhere.
I've seen many landing pages that I've just gone, oh, I don't know what I'm looking at, but that's not telling me what I'm looking at. Yeah. And I think the one thing that we really want to kind of touch on is the content that is in your landing page. One thing that we see quite regularly is a lot of people use the same content that they would use on their regular website to, entice customers into their brand on their franchisee landing page. They are two very different things.
Yeah.
Yes, we've said that your franchisee could be your customer, but they're not there to buy, say, a Pilates pack or donuts or whatever it is. They're not there to do that. They're there to understand your brand and what it is that you offer. So, what are you trying to tell them? What are the stats about the industry? What are the stats about your business? What's the culture like at your business? What kind of perks are they going to get from being part of that brand? And if that's not portrayed in your copy, your imagery, or even your first hero section, they're going to bounce off. So
well, it goes back to, Lisa, it goes back to Bruce's earlier point with regards to the MSO. If somebody is looking at that multi-store unit, we know one brand who has an amazing fact that we only uncovered as part of their onboarding into BDC is that something like, I think it was 68% of their franchisees are MSOs. And that's nowhere to be seen on their landing page. And that's a massive USP that they're missing out on, because if your strategy is to have MSOs, well, why aren't we talking about MSOs on the landing page? That's who we want to try and filter to fill in the inquiry form. Sometimes we just get caught up about, we need to get as many leads as possible and then decipher through it. Franchise recruitment and lead generation is all about talking to the right people and spending the right amount of time to develop and nurture those relationships, as opposed to volume, quick chats. So we see it time and time again where B2C messaging is getting caught up in what should be B2B messaging. If you're an emerging brand, for example, and you don't have any franchisees, or you've got your first franchisee, you've got a store operation, opened this date, serviced the first client this date. We reached our 1,000th client at this date. Talking through that growth of your business so people can see that this is a business that's on a journey. This is a business that's in growth mode. But we all get caught up with USPs such as be your own boss. Well, nobody really cares about that. Nobody cares about that. No. They want to know, I love the brand. I love the product, but what's your vision? What's the vision from the founder? Where are we going with this business? I want to join in this business. And that's going to get more business-minded people inquiring.
Yeah. And just on what you were saying about the percentage of multi-site owners, we actually took that fact and put it into the copy in our paid ads. And it's now the most clicked ad in that client's set of paid ads. So that is a fact that everybody wants to see. They want to understand, that tells everyone how happy your franchisees are with that brand. They want to own more of it. So that that goes so far. That is just a monumental piece of information that we were missing.
It was huge. It turned around the lead generation massively. It opened it up completely. And as franchisors, I was guilty of doing this in my earlier days. We're afraid to provide information because we don't want our competitors seeing it. stop caring about your competitors and focus on who you are and what you do and how you're changing the landscape and what you're bringing, because you want to bring people on the journey. At the end of the day, people are, you have to just face up. People are going to inquire with 2, 3, 4 brands. We're living in a day and age now that people can get the information they want at the click of a button. So we have to be prepared to put up as much information that we possibly feel comfortable with on our landing pages to show the transparency, to show the success, to really filter down the audience to, this is the type of person we want. And far too often we see the mistakes of B2C imagery and content and no B2B.
Yep.
Lisa, just with you mentioned that people want to see that the franchisees are successful. So do you, if they've done a franchisee engagement survey, would you link the results or reference results? Because
100%.
that's what I know in the conference I went to in the US, they talked a lot about the testimonials of franchisees. So actually having the franchisees tell, whether or not there's little videos or whether there's just testimonials, or actually the results of the FBR survey, the Franchise Business Review survey here, so they can actually see that. Is that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, even if it was like 60% of franchisees said they would buy another franchise. 90% of franchisees are very, very happy with the business. And like all those kind of stats go such a long way, because you don't want to buy into a business that you're not going to be happy in. Like ultimately, like your culture, your kind of levels of happiness, are you supported? These things are so valuable. Like, yes, are you going to make money? Fantastic. But like, are you going to be happy? And that's something you need to see.
People are naturally cautious of brands selling to them. And it's not about selling, it's about presenting information of success and where you're going as a business. And the best sales tool and the best campaigns that I've seen in operation are ones of franchisees talking about their success and why they joined the network. Because people buy from people, and if they see a franchisee that matches who they are, they go, do you know what? I could be that person. And that's what stimulates the inquiry. It's like, these guys are saying how good it is. I need to find out more. So with 100%, Bruce, it's all about, if you've got satisfaction survey results, get it up there. If you've got franchisee testimonials, get it up there. If you don't, go and spend the money and get high quality content delivered.
And the satisfaction results are the industry benchmark, obviously hold more weight. Ones that are just, a little survey you did yourself, asking some questions. So cool.
Yep. And then, so this just kind of everything we were saying there speaks to these 2 images that I've put in the slide here, which is Guzman, obviously. The top one is their food, their product. And the second one is their culture, their people, potentially franchisees, maybe not, just staff members. But that's the kind of thing that we think should be on the franchise landing page. We don't want to see chicken dippers on the landing page. We're not interested in that. We want to see happy franchisees, store fit outs or layouts, videos of franchisee testimonials, or videos of, just the culture, like a video of a walkthrough of the day in the life of that store, or anything like that speaks more about the brand rather than the product, because they can find out what the product is if they go in store. They can buy the product, they can test the product, they can see the menu, they can do all of that, but they can't necessarily understand your culture and your brand properly if you don't display it on your franchise landing page. So that's just one thing I've wanted to kind of lay out here as well, is we know that a lot of brands try and stay away from the terms like franchising or own a franchise, but when they do stay away from it, they get a lot of low quality leads that are looking for jobs, or looking to buy a pack, or looking to buy the food. And that's obviously a waste of the salesperson's time, because then they've got to call them and then like, oh, we're just looking for a job. Right. So what do we need to change with the landing page to stop that from happening? Maybe you do need to put a button on that says, if you're looking for jobs, click here. But maybe we just need to make it a little bit more clear what's happening on that page. I don't think we should shy away from being obvious. I think trying to be subtle about it, what's the point? Like, if they're on the franchise page, they wanted to buy a franchise, so let's maybe just make it obvious what it is, and then give them all the stats and the information that they need. So then I've wanted to touch on content as well. So this is something that Dave was actually just talking about, was the content that you need to kind of create the full picture of your brand. A landing page can only be so long. You don't want to have it going on forever and people are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and then never get to the bottom. But the one thing that you probably should focus on is creating more information that people can click on and they can read and they can download. So, you know your business better than anybody else. So you know what makes it kind of shine. You know why people should be buying it. So you need to tell them why. So like we've said, stats about industry, stats about your business on the actual landing page, but creating blogs about your newest franchisee, your oldest franchisee, what were they doing before? Why did they choose your brand? What have they experienced since being a part of your brand? And then you could also make a video about them, video and franchisee testimonials, links to articles about what it means to be a franchisee of your business or just in general, or, why should they pick you? What have you done differently? Why are you so amazing? Like, people want information, they want to learn. And if they don't have enough information to learn, they will just jump onto the next brand. And if they've got more information, then they'll most likely go with them. Because you're not going to put in all this money to something when you don't know enough about what it's like to be a part of that brand. And then, yes.
Dave, another thing, sorry, just Lisa, is awards. So I know if you're franchisees have won awards or your franchisor, Dave, I know you've obviously, when you're at Salts of the Earth, entered awards, and to demonstrate that as an emerging franchisor next gen, like, do you think that's something that having some validation from external parties through those whether it be through the FCA, it's, this week people can enter the FCA awards, but there are other industry awards that are also relevant.
Yeah, the awards were huge for us. Like, one year we had 3 franchisees that won state franchisee of the year, and they went up against each other in the national awards at the FCA. That in itself created so many organic leads for our brand. It was ridiculous. And what it does is it brings a whole lot of validation and credibility to who you are and what you're doing. So, as franchisors, we are so focused on making sure that we're bringing customers into our franchisees for profitability that we kind of forget about the content creation for B2B. And let me tell you, the quickest way to grow your network is to focus on opening more stores and getting more footprint on the ground. It's the quickest way. But you have to put the time and effort into the content, into the strategy. It's not just a matter of throw the fishing net out. Do it right. It takes a while to get it organized, but once you get it organized, it's then about monitoring and seeing what works. But the awards are definitely a great idea.
Yeah, and just touching on what you're saying about content was, I remember when Bruce was away in America the other month, he had mentioned that one of the things that they're expecting to see a big growth in 2024 is video content.
Yep.
Like, we're living in a TikTok world where everything's short videos, 30-second videos. If you filmed a new store opening and made a TikTok out of it, that could be great content. Like, if you don't have like a videographer or a big budget to put on something like that, take a couple videos, make a TikTok, or just sit an iPhone in front of a franchisee and ask them some questions and just get that content, because it doesn't have to be 100% professional. But if you have that content there to sell, then I think that's so much better than not having it at all. So, and like, I was just going to show this one here where this video for this landing page was just that. It was pretty much a TikTok video that they took when their Gold Coast clinic opened, and we've popped it on the landing page, and now we've added it to the ads, and their leads are blowing up. It's content like that goes a really long way.
Yeah.
Okay, so next,
authenticity. It's about authenticity, isn't it? It's just
correct. People like rawness, Bruce. They like to see that it's not edited to the nth degree. They like to see rawness. So if you're opening up a new store, it's, even during the fit out phase, excited the store's coming here. It just creates content which Lisa's going to get into for nurturing campaigns, etc.
Yeah.
So continuing on with the landing page, one thing I think Dave and I are both very passionate about is the position of inquiry forms. a lot of franchisors, sorry, don't actually have an inquiry form on their page. They just say kind of reach out to us. And I think having at least one form on your page is very important. Give someone the chance to inquire, at least just, ask a question if they want to. One thing that I think we would say that is even more important is having that inquiry form quite near the top of your landing page. So this fact here says that your prospects only take 50 milliseconds to form an impression about your page, which means within 50 milliseconds, they could have left your landing page. So one, that top header content needs to be obvious. It needs to be obvious as to what it is. But the next thing, they need to have the ability to fill out the form earlier on than having to scroll all the way down to the bottom. I'll show you kind of later on, but we've got a heat map that we can see where people are landing on the page, and they arrive at the top, they maybe get halfway down and then they leave. So what can we do to keep what can we do to keep them on the page, provide better content, to put an inquiry form further up so that we don't miss the opportunity to capture that lead. So what I've said here is top of the page, either in your header or just below it, to instantly capture prospects' attention who have intent and have been on your website before. Form 2, the bottom of the page. So this is for people who have read your whole landing page. They've got time to spend. They're really interested in the brand already. They get all the way to the bottom and they go, yep, this is for me. I want to learn more, rather than having to scroll all the way back up. The third form, which I'm most passionate about, is the information pack download form. So that sounds like a lot of forms on a landing page, but this one is a pop-up. So you just click on the CTA, it pops up, and they can fill out their information. It's not as intimidating as the inquiry form. It is literally first name, last name, email address.
Yeah, and there's two purposes for that. Is that what you're doing is you're using your forms to filter out a serious buyer to who's looking to buy within the next 6 to 12 months, and you're then filtering out somebody who's probably potentially looking at 12 to 18 months down the track that just wants further information. So it's less intimidating to fill out a full inquiry form, but get information and then enter a separate nurture campaign, again, which we're going to go through. But then we've got a form that is, listen, I'm serious. I need to talk to somebody and I want more information. We are looking at doing it. So you have to have, I can't underestimate the power of making sure your forms are correctly positioned, but also vetting the leads, like asking the relevant questions. So for example, if you're a builder, a building franchise, do you have a builder's license? Yes or no? If you don't, there's no point inquiring, because you have to vet out that. So forms are very, very important.
Yeah, definitely. And with the information pack form, I think the thing that's kind of really interesting about it is a lot of people have actually downloaded that form, filled out the form, read the information pack, and then reconverted and filled out the inquiry form like half an hour later. So They just want a little bit more information before they want to be contacted by your sales team, which is completely fair. I think we're living in a world where people don't really like phone calls. I know that I'm not the best with them. So having that ability to download the pack first and then inquire when they're ready, I think is really, really important.
And that flows into the capability of your CRM system. Are you able to create that form that then puts them into a nurture that then can reconvert them into so you've got a marketing qualified lead that's being qualified automatically into a sales qualified lead based on the campaigns that we build. So you have to have the tools to enable you to do that.
Yep. So next is landing page tracking. So
Big brother.
Yeah, it's a bit scary at times, I think. But there's lots of tools out there that can help you understand if your landing page is performing. So you might read everything that I've just said and go, oh, but I'm doing all of that, but it's not, I'm not getting any leads. So we can take a kind of step back and go, okay, well, why are you not getting any leads and why is it not performing? So obviously there's Google Analytics, which is a free platform that you can use. And it can tell you a lot, but probably not as much as you would like to know if you're not getting any leads and you have got a really amazing landing page. So just a couple of things to look at on GA4 is your bounce rate. How long are they spending on your page? This could help you understand, is the page relevant or are you targeting the right people? You know, if you've got ads on, maybe you're just targeting the wrong people and they're bouncing straight off because it's not relevant to them. Or maybe it's not clear what the page is supposed to be doing. Users versus conversions. Again, if you're getting a lot of users but they're not converting, why are they not converting? Do you need to move your form? Maybe you need that information pack download because they're like a little bit intimidated by the form. Or again, maybe you're targeting the wrong people with your ad spend or anything else and it's bringing in the wrong traffic. And then again, your traffic sources and your engagement time. If they're not engaged on your page, you need to change the page. What's happening? Does the copy need to change? Do the images need to change? It all comes back to that. What are you saying on your page? Is it relevant? And is it obvious what the page is trying to do? The second thing is Hotjar or Microsoft Clarity. So this is free, but also it has paid functions to it as well. We do use this with our clients and it's a little bit scary at times to look at it. But it tracks everything that's happening on each landing page, from heat maps to click-throughs. We even get video recordings of what people are doing when they land on the landing page. So it just helps us understand, what are they doing? Where are they going? And like, what are they looking for? Like in one of these images here, they're clicking quite a lot on that top paragraph. So maybe we should add in a CTA at that top paragraph for them to click on because they want something there. They want more there. And then again, this one next to it is the heat map. So it's really red at the top. And then once it gets past that fold, it kind of drops off quite quickly. So we need to add that inquiry form further up and then move some things around there. So it just kind of helps you understand what's actually happening rather than just assuming like, oh, we're not getting any leads, so we've done this badly. Well, let's have a deep dive into what's going on.
There's no magic recipe for franchise lead generation, because every brand is going to be different. You're targeting different audiences, you're targeting different demographics, different personas. They're going to want to see information higher up or lower down. This is about starting from scratch and putting the right tools in place and monitoring. Like, I can't underestimate, we monitor this stuff daily, and it's making sure that we've got things positioned. Where are they clicking now? We've put this inquiry form here, or we've put this piece of content here. The heat map is telling us that people are only getting down this far. Do we need to get them down further, or do we bring a CTA up higher? Where are they clicking? What are they doing? Are they rage clicking? What are they doing? Are they getting the content that they need? So this is going to be different for everybody. So it's about starting from scratch, using the tools that you have. And it's a simple, it's a simple JavaScript that you get your web developers to put on the page. And you can literally start seeing recordings straight away. It takes a couple of minutes to propagate, and you start getting recordings in straight away. You get to see the device that they're on. You get to see the location they're in. It's unbelievable. But this is the stuff that helps you. It's data-driven decision making.
Yep. Okay, before we go on to the next section, Bruce, do we have any questions on any of that?
So yeah, there is a question about the tools. So which is the best one? If you're going to start with, you've mentioned a couple of different things here. And the other question I had was about AI and embedding into it as well. What's the best to start with? Yeah, so we started with Hotjar, but there's a paid subscription. There's a free subscription where you get, I think it's 25 recordings at a time. Microsoft Clarity, if you're on Microsoft, I believe it's free. But you get all of it's for free. So I'm starting to lean towards Microsoft Clarity because there's a bit more functionality in there that's free as opposed to Hotjar. Hotjar is great, but I'm definitely leaning towards Microsoft Clarity now as we see its functionality. With regards to AI, AI comes down to how you interact with it. It's only going to give you the answers. It's only going to give you the guidance as to the quality that you put into the questioning of it. So if you're not using it properly, it's probably going to misguide you with regards to what you should do and how you do it. So you have to, it's not just about punching in one question and getting the result. It's about having an open communication with the AI to really narrow it down, and get it, I suppose, a better data from it. Yep.
I also realized that we're probably running a bit behind on time, so I'll try to move through a little bit quicker on these next slides. So the next thing is the paid advertising strategy. So you've analyzed your persona, you've created an amazing landing page, now you need to drive people to that landing page. At BDC, we would generally use 3 ad platforms. We have found these to be the most prosperous. However, if you've found another platform that works really well for you, please let us know in the chat. But these are kind of the places that we stick to because we know they are successful. Obviously, if you're looking for a master franchise, that's different because we've already spoken about that.
Yeah.
So usually I would start with a search ad. This is an intent-based ad. People who are being targeted by this have been searching for you through keywords that you have identified or through your brand. I think one thing that is really important with this is that make sure your copy is compelling, like what we said earlier about the 68% want to be multi-site owners. That's a really important thing that you should be putting in your copy across all your ads. Make sure you're telling people things like that hook them into
USPs.
Yeah, like starting with be your own boss, like it's great, everyone's doing it, but everyone's doing it. So we need to move away from that. We've really got to, focus on those USPs. Again, I feel like we've only talked about stats today, but the stats are so important.
Yep.
And that's something that we should be putting in all of our ads. So yeah, Google search is more intent-based. Performance Max, I've said, is a little bit less than intent-based, but it captures people once they've already been searching for particular things. So you can set it up to say people looking to be their own boss or own a franchise, and then they'll start to get targeted in different areas of the platforms that Google owns, like YouTube, etc. This is a really good one as well to add some really good videos in there. So if you have franchisee testimonials or you have your kind of culture or brand videos, make sure to put them in Performance Max, because it will kind of follow people around and it will show them exactly what your brand has to offer. And then again, your remarketing ad. So like we were saying about Google Analytics, when you have your ads set up and you can kind of have them working together, you can remarket to the people that have been landing on your landing page. This is really great because again, it kind of makes me think about the information pack and how we're touching them at different times with more information. It's like that again with remarketing. You are continuing to touch them after they've left your landing page and after they're doing something else with their day. You're still saying, remember us, we're here. Own our brand.
Here's another stat.
yeah, here's more that you didn't already know.
yeah, exactly.
And then next is Meta. So typically we have found that Meta leads are not very high quality. We do generally use Meta as a brand exercise. Most people that come through Meta would download the information pack and probably sit in the nurture for a bit longer than someone who comes through Google. But again, I think it's something valuable to have running, especially with retargeting. So if they're coming onto the website and we retarget them, then they're still, we're touching them in multiple places other than just, on their browser. We're getting them in Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, it's also worthwhile mentioning brands that are looking to enter new states where they don't have a brand presence. A lot of people enter those states and they're like, you need to buy our business because it's great. And they forget to do the brand building. They forget to do who we are, what we're doing. We're now looking to expand. They completely forget. It's all about, it's about that strategy of we're now selling territories in this area without educating the audience in that area who you are and what you do. So it's making sure, and Meta can be very good for that, to start building that audience following. And then you come in with intent-based search that you're remarketing to. So it's a lot of strategy that goes into it.
Yes, definitely. And again, the right creative, like I've got a couple of images here from 2 are from KX and 1 is from Banjos, and it's just different ways to show what you're doing, but it needs to be obvious. So if you're promoting it using Meta, you need to be very clear about what the creative is saying, because more people will look at the creative before they look at the copy. So let's put the right thing in the creative, and then they can read the copy and be like, boom, 68% are multi-site owners. That's the kind of idea with Meta. Let's make it a lot more kind of interesting, head-turning type content.
Yep.
And the last one is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an expensive platform, and you need to have, you need to spend an X amount of money to reach X amount of people, which makes it a little bit harder when, franchisors don't have as much money to spend. They are valuable if you're, maybe if you're more of like a more services franchise, then you might find more people on that platform for you. But we have found it to not be that great, as it is a high spender and it doesn't convert very well. But again, if you found it to be fabulous, then please go ahead and continue to use it. And then the last thing I just wanted to say was, with your ad content, are your ads clear about what they are promoting? Have you provided industry or business facts? And have you included captivating videos or images? Something we have continued to say, but will continue to say, please make sure that when you are building your strategy, you look at these 3 questions and you say, have I done these 3 things? Because otherwise it might be a waste of money and it's expensive and you don't want to do that.
Yeah. And most importantly, a lot of people, you need to understand that you have to start from somewhere. And it's about building your audiences and getting the learnings in place, getting Google's learnings in place, so that we can then start looking at the campaigns, what's working, what's not working. And then again, the importance of watching it daily, how we can alter it so that we can really hone in. Next slide, Lisa. 10 minutes left.
No, I've not done well.
Yeah. Acquisition.
I think this is the most interesting one anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So targeting. Consider your chosen territories that you would like to grow your business in. Does one have a population of 60,000 and one has a population of 5.2 million? If this is the case, you cannot look at it and go, I'm going to spend $10 on one and $10 on the other, because it is not going to work. So I think to do this, you need to understand your cost per acquisition.
And also where you want to grow as well, like where's the priority for the growth.
Yes. And being realistic about your franchise growth as well. If you aren't willing to spend that much money, but you do want to grow your business in Brisbane CBD, it's maybe not going to work for you. So maybe try somewhere else to start off with, even surrounding suburbs. Just if you've got a small amount of money, targeting that larger population is going to be really hard. So you just have to consider that when you are growing out your strategy. So we've done a little bit of a backwards plan here just to show you how we would do things and to help you build out your plan as well. With the annual franchisor development report that Bruce was talking about earlier, it states that the average cost per franchise in the US is $11,500 US dollars. This is 17,500 Australian dollars.
That's advertising cost.
Yes, from start to finish on franchise opening. And our average acquisition cost per lead at BDC is $98. So in this report, the average cost per lead in the US is $253 US dollars, which is 378 Australian dollars. So it's quite a lot of money. And if you take this into consideration, so we've converted the US franchise acquisition cost, which is that 17,500, and we've divided it by the BDC average cost per lead, which would be 177 leads per new franchise open.
Yeah, and I think what highlights it further highlights your point there, Lisa, with regards to the populations. So over in the US, obviously, 15 or 12 times the population of Australia. There's a lot more budget, a lot more noise you need to make. So the cost per lead is a lot higher. Whereas here we're able to operate it at, just below $100 per lead. So again, that further emphasizes the population densities and where you're targeting.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've broken it down by one of our clients just to show you how we would figure out what we kind of realistically should be expecting to spend. And then if they want to open, say, 10 franchises next year, how much we need to be spending to then open 10. So I've taken one of our clients who we've had on board for 8 months. They are new and they came to us with only one site open. So within 8 months, they've spent just over $23,500. We've had 3 closed-won deals, which would mean that it's just under $8,000 per deal. In those 8 months, we've had 234 leads, which means it's $101 per lead. 234 leads divided by 3 deals is 78 leads per deal. We figured out that over the 12 months, we're estimated to spend $35,500. So that divided by the amount per deal is 5 deals for the 12 months. 78 leads per deal times by the 5 deals means that we would be expecting 390 leads per year with a cost per lead at 12 months of $91. So this then lets us forecast next year and say, if we can get 5 deals at 390 leads at $91 a lead, how much more do we need to be spending to, say, open 10 franchises next year?
Yep.
So it just allows you to kind of look at it backwards and say, this is how much we've spent so far. This is what the costs are. What do we want to achieve?
And it helps with the budgeting, because a lot of franchisors are like, I want to open up 10 locations. Well, what's your marketing budget? $1,000 a month. It's not happening. It's just not happening. You can see your acquisition cost is below 8,000. If you want to open up 10, you need to have a budget of 80 grand in marketing costs based on these figures. And this is going to vary dramatically from brand to brand, but this is just one example that we have within our portfolio.
Yeah, and this is a new brand. So if you took Guzman, you're probably looking at a significantly less cost per lead, because there's such a recognized brand now that we don't have to try as hard to get leads, but you might get a lot of low quality leads. So then you just got to figure out that kind of balance. But yeah, it's probably quite overwhelming to take in like this. So like I said, I'll send the slides around afterwards.
Lisa, there is a question. Does this mean that they paid $23,000 in advertising to earn $23,000 in revenue? No, my answer is no.
No, it's not. So if your franchise fee is 50 grand, we've done 3 deals. So there's 150,000 in franchise fees, initial franchise fees, and you've just spent 23,000 in advertising costs to acquire that.
Notwithstanding the royalties you're going to make.
Correct, and the ongoing stuff from that. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Cool. Was there any more?
Hopefully that answered the question for the person.
And this is the important stuff, the lead nurturing. What happens when nobody's talking to them? The amount of, if you get this lead nurturing set up right, the amount of people who re-enter into your sales qualified pipeline is unbelievable if you've got all the right touch points. So over to you, Lisa, to close it out.
Yeah. So I promise you this won't take too long. We're almost there. This is the last section with the workflows and lead nurturing. So this closely follows in with the inquiry forms that I was talking about. So I've just kind of done a very dumbed down version of a workflow here. The form inquiry would be your top and your bottom form. They fill that out, they get a phone call from sales or whatever your process is, and then they move the deal stage or they fall into nurture. The second one is the info pack inquiry form. They fill that out, they get their information pack, and then they get a couple of emails about the information pack, and then they fall into the nurture. So the most important thing about the nurture is that you are educating people. So many people do not wake up in the morning and go, today I'm going to buy a franchise. I'm going to Google best franchise to buy, click on it and buy it. It just doesn't happen like that. So if they fill out the inquiry form and they're not interested in speaking to sales, we don't want to lose them. We just want to keep educating them and providing them more content. Again, content. It's all about what you're providing them, what information you're giving to them, any videos, anything like that. So I'll just...
Again, this comes back to the tools that you have. So do you have a CRM and a marketing and an email marketing platform that has, the ability to build out workflows, time delays, auto emails that are triggered, scoring, etc.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll just show you the next one, because this kind of explains a bit more as to what we would do. So like we say, educating the lead is simply just sharing more information with them. So creating a blog, creating a meet the headquarters team, creating a day in the life of working as a franchisee with that brand, hear from the CEO. I think one thing that we really enjoyed doing was our podcasts with the CEOs, and we've been able to put some of them into our clients' nurtures. And then the recruitment process. So just letting them understand what that recruitment process does look like, so that if they do change their mind, they know how long it could take and what they're going to expect during that process. So what I've got here is 3 different tables. The first table is the emails they would receive when they fill out the top and the bottom form. These emails are simply just a, hi, are you still interested? Let's have a chat. Here's the book a meeting link, and here's the information pack again for you. The second one is the information pack download button, which I was saying, I really love this and I think it's super important. So if you include the information pack and you give them a chance to book a meeting with your sales team or a chance to go back and fill out the main inquiry form, this happens all the time. Like, I cannot express that enough, how many people fill out the information pack form and within about half an hour or maybe a day, they will come back and re-inquire because they're interested. So again, that speaks to how good your information pack is, but that's for another day.
That's another day.
Yeah. And then the nurture. There's no specific order to how you could lay out your nurture, but I think the thing that I like to do most is send them the franchisee testimonial first. I think being able to see how, another franchisee is feeling about working in that company and what they've experienced, and that maybe not potentially the returns, but just like the return on their personal life, I think is a really valuable piece of content that if you send that to them first, it kind of hooks you in a little bit, and then you give them the rest of the content that they could then learn about the business with the meet the teams, recruitment process, CEO, etc. So yeah, that's roughly how I would outline my email nurture. I feel like I've rushed through it a little bit, but again, sending this, a new email maybe every 5 to 7 days, maybe a bit longer if, they've kind of dropped off maybe 10 days. It's just, we want to keep them warm enough that we're not annoying them, but then not warm enough that they then forget who the brand is. So if we can provide them enough content to keep them intrigued and kind of looking forward to that email coming in, and they learn all the new things that's happening in the business and why they should be a franchisee, I think it's in for a win. I think, it converts really well. I think it's super important, and I don't think enough people are doing it personally. So
Lisa, I know we're right on time here, but we did get a question around example information packs and recruitment process infographics. So I think that might be another topic for a webinar. We don't have time to go.
Yeah,
it's a full topic information.
Yeah, Dave and I are actually building out a
template.
A template just now. I've been spending a lot of time on it, so maybe in the new year we could run a webinar and just talk through kind of all that kind of bigger pieces of content, like expressions of interests and information packs and recruitment process and all that kind of thing. So yeah, maybe that's something we could consider for January.
Yep, no problem.
So I think that's everything for me.
We didn't leave a whole lot of time for questions if there is any, but
so there's a couple of questions coming through, but I think I can answer those separately around just around our business and what we do for clients. But essentially, we do have clients we lead generation, we do lead generation for, we do have clients that we do a full suite of recruitment services for, and we didn't talk about profiling. There's lots of other things that we can.
There's lots of stuff we didn't,
we'll run another webinar.
Yeah, and it's also if you need assistance with any of this, we're here to help. We're at the end of the day, it's about how can we help you guys generate leads better and have meaningful conversations.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about anything that we've talked through, please feel free to email me and I can answer anything extra about any lead generation, anything that you feel like maybe isn't working and that you'd like to try, just let me know and I can answer any questions.
Yeah, Lisa will send out an email with the recording of this, the slides, and then you've got the details.
And the franchise report from the US, Bruce.
Yeah, we can attach that as well. So that's from the Franchise Update Media. So it's got all the trends. It's quite a comprehensive report on the trends in the US, in light of the fact that they're experiencing similar issues with us in terms of interest rates going up, inflation, things like that. So I can send that through and reach out if you've got any questions. But I think that's all the questions. I think we'll cover those separately. But thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Dave, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Or if you're watching this later on, thank you. And enjoy. Have a great, safe, happy Christmas festive period. And we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.